promote these three avenues. So thank you very much, as Sabine and Eric did it in a brilliant way today. So I'm going to try and conclude this day with my little glasses or cap as a communication expert. So what struck me along these communications and presentations regarding trees and tree avenues beyond the technical, historical and scientific aspects I heard about is that these tree avenues represent a kind of emotional aspect. Now, if you allow me, I would like to go back into the past. This morning, we had the various presentations, and you raised a question about what is the first time you were dazzled by tree avenues. And so I heard many people speaking about souvenirs as a child and sensory aspects, sounds, images. So these notions are already very strong regarding memory. Now, Alain Rivel shared his memories regarding the cars and his childhood, looking at trees on the road. But she also mentioned the emotional shock when these pine trees were felled. And then Francis Morland also recalled the fact that trees are, I quote him, a first approach of nature when we are a child. So we realized that this morning around this sharing information, we noticed that the tree avenues were a cultural heritage and strong heritage, telling a story and embodying more than just a landscape. So then I could hear the president, the chair, saying that tree avenues had supplementary qualities as opposed to isolated trees. And these are strong values being used. They represent a cultural foundation, democratic foundation, and also landscape strength. And then we also heard with the various presentations the climatic stakes and ecological stakes as well, which is a heritage for the future generations, this temporality, which is completely different from mankind temporality. I heard something about the question of tree being the question of civilizations. Humankind needs trees for tomorrow. So these are very strong words. And I also had the opportunity to rediscover, but you already knew all about it as experts, but I discovered there was a strong link between trees and mental health and health in general. And so to conclude, I mean, we saw this afternoon the notion of beauty, which is a philosophical notion, which is rather complicated and which deserves more than just being a topic to be covered at the baccalaureate. So we have to measure all these qualities and measures and the strength of the images embodied by the tree avenues. So I'm not an expert of all the heritage, but it seems to me that we don't have a lot of heritage in France or in Europe who can be proud of embodying so many values and promises, and which embody a specific answer and gives a specific answer to tomorrow's challenges. Now, all these elements embody what we could qualify as a brand image of the tree avenues. And obviously, I mean, when the trademark, I mean, for those who are acquainted with communication policies, I mean, we need much more time to build up this trademark. We need tools, more important tools than just listening and sharing information, but just I mean, taking your information, and these big notions are highlighted. And of course, Chantal was raising a question, but I mean, this image could be used to build together a kind of European itinerary in order to highlight this consistency and so optimize the various territories like the Aude department welcoming us today, but also Sweden, Norway, Poland, Ukraine, Germany, and all these countries being represented here in this hall. I'm not going to mention them all, But Chantal also mentioned the specifications of the Council of Europe for the implementation of a cultural and European itinerary. I won't go back to these aspects, rather technical, but the Council of Europe itself is promoting these European cultural itineraries, and I quote them, traveling in time and space, showing that the heritage of various countries in Europe contributes to the common cultural heritage. So, I mean, you tell me what you think about it later, but it seems to me that all this sharing, that we are ticking quite a few boxes to implement a kind of itinerary, cultural itinerary. And then when we speak about communication, then the tendency is, I mean, we spoke about the trade mark of the avenues, so we'll see now if the communication is permanent or not, but these images of avenues and values allow the territories to cover this topic and then develop their own trademark. And so there are two trademarks. I mean, the one that people have of the territory and the one that territories are building step by step. So just in terms of theory, for example, a trademark, for those who are not acquainted with this, I mean, a trademark with territory, it's a kind of alchemistry between three factors. A physical factor, we do not really master, like climate, geography, geology. And then a second factor with the touristic infrastructures, and this time we can monitor hotels, transport, restaurant, all the possibilities we have to serve our tourists. And the third factor is a kind of historical and cultural factor, which is the factor we are interested in. And we can see for the Aude, which is a very good student for Tree Avenues, it is a territory which wonderful health and a wonderful heritage of Tree Avenues. And so this element, if you got the message, I mean, can be very important. And if we get all these values together, then we'll be able to act on the historical and cultural factors. So, and contributing to the trademark of the avenues now would contribute to the trademark of the territory. Now, what do we do with this trademark, actually? What do we do with this image? Now, then we build a strategy. I mean, we heard about the strategy, touristic strategy, developed by Nadine Darson-Beretta. So how do we make this trademark our own? How do we develop a strategy? What is important today? Now, living theory. Now, I'm expert in communication. Now, on a territory, we can develop a trademark, and we can work with association, with the foundation also, with a fundraising association, with an individual, for an academic who has more knowledge. And then with all this, I mean, we develop a trademark. What is very important is that we have to offer something consistent from scratch to the end. And so we spoke about the touristic strategy. We spoke about identity. So if you allow me, then in order to develop the strategy, I would like to use a metaphor for those who like water. I mean, we could imagine a trip on the water. What do we know? I mean, we know the anchorage point. We need a boat, any floating element, and then we need a destination. And so this is our trip, our journey. In order to come back to this concrete element, what is the anchorage? The anchorage is our DNA, where we come from, our origin, our identity. Where do we come from? If we do not have any DNA, then we're going to ramble around and never have foundations or the fundamentals. Then we need the strategy. That is, what do we offer as a product? If we do not know it completely, if we don't know our boat in the slightest detail and technical aspect, then it's to no avail, then we fail. And the destination is the promise. So destination where we are aiming at, where we are going to, is the promise for a territory. And if you do not have any goal and any promise, then nobody is going to follow you in this adventure. And to allow me, I would like to make a parallel with the avenue aspect. So, as you understood, the coherence of trademark strategy, if it is well prepared, if we've done it correctly, I mean, the 3 avenues, I mean, gathers everybody. I mean, the elected members, the technicians, the inhabitants, the tourists, and all the companies and businesses, associations on the territory. And all these stakeholders, I mean, are going to make this topic their own, taking into account the needs and the constraints of each. And so we reach a consensus which allow us to move forward and progress. Sorry. But anyway, there'll still be people who won't agree, but at least, I mean, this exists, and we have a sort of guideline on the strategy. Now, with these elements and with all of what we shared today, we can see that these 3 avenues are heritage, so which the territories can make their own, and they can use it for as an attractive tool to attract tourists, for example. I was talking about the appropriation of the topic. I wanted to speak about it earlier, but I forgot it. But it is very important, I think, that if there is something we should keep in our mind, is this aspect that is a trademark beyond the just a simple maximization of the heritage, because we have an exceptional heritage, and that's what the Aude department does it with the charter, and this allows all the inhabitants to make this heritage their own and understand how the 3 avenues improve the living standards, way of living. And so I would like to bounce back on what Sabine said. It allows also, I mean, if an inhabitant, I mean, make this topic his own, then maybe he will have less claims, and also when the stakeholders in a topic, I mean, are also information drivers and prescriptors on this topic. This allows the theory, whatever the theory is, it allows us to move from theory to practice. So that's it, and I would include now, if you allow me to come back to my metaphor regarding water, taking into account the trees at all stages of the strategy promises a wonderful journey to the inhabitants, visitors, tourists, and also will lead to superb gems. Thank you.